Four turtles, four brothers. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles runs back as far as my childhood memory can go back. I was a 4-year-old boy about 1990 when I first saw this animated show, and my life was changed forever. Before Dragon Ball, before the Power Rangers, before Spider-Man, before any fandom, there was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They've always been there. From the TV show to the 90s movies, 1 and 2. Well, maybe 3 a little bit. I feel like I kind of enjoyed it until I grew up, and then I was like, hey, this is really terrible. But the first 2 movies and the animated show, I had to have all of the toys, the turtle van, the Technodrome. I had to have it all, man. I loved it. You know, I had some up and downs. The 90s were brilliant, kind of left us in 2000. We still got a brilliant cartoon in the 2000s, and then they came back with kind of that continuation of the movie in 2007. I love this movie. A lot of people don't like it, but I really did love TMNT 2007. But then we got the Bay Turtle movies. It really felt like Transformers, just they're big, bulky, steroid-infused, built like tank turtles. You got Megan Fox as April. It just never felt like they were ninjas. They just felt like linebackers just rummaging through a boatload of foot soldiers, which was cool. It was some really cool fight scenes, but it just never felt like that core serious atmosphere that the Turtles were known for. They just never really did it for me. They were good popcorn flicks, but I never really considered these true Turtles movies. And then that brings us to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, the new Hollywood blockbuster that has finally given us a new look on the Turtles. To be completely honest, my feelings going into this were kind of mixed. Seth Rogen was the co-creator, director of this specific version of the Turtles. Kind of had my hopes up in that regard because we're almost kind of the same age. I think Seth Rogen's in his early 40s. I'm 35, so we probably started our Turtle journey at around the same kind of childhood time period. So I guess somebody from my childhood making this version of the Turtles, that's always a good sign. Definitely the first thing that I noticed that got me intrigued to be excited for this version of my childhood heroes was the music. As soon as the movie starts, you kind of got that slow hip-hop jam beat. Kind of reminded me of like the early 90s hip-hop. Not that hippity-hippity-hippity-hoppity-hoo music from today's rappers and childhood. Once again, I'm 35. I'm sorry, kids, if that's your type of music. I like to actually understand my hip-hop artists. But, it kind of brought me back home, man. I really enjoyed soundtrack and the music. It reminded me of simpler times for sure. Another huge change that I wanted to address here that I know a lot of classic fans are going to notice, maybe not necessarily from the animated shows, at least the first one, but definitely the movies and the later animated shows, especially the 2000 series, is their attitudes and the Turtles' personalities. They actually act like real-life teenagers here. They don't act like kind of grown adults who are pretending to be teenagers. They actually act like 15, 16-year-old kids who just happen to know kung fu and are hand-to-hand skilled with deadly weapons. It's so good, man. It's really good. It was kind of throwing me off because you know how Michelangelo is supposed to be the party dude. I kind of feel like in this one, he kind of, I don't know, maybe I feel like Leonardo was more of the geeky, kind of not sure of himself. He still had aspects of being the leader, but he definitely had to get there. Donatello is still the geek 100%. Raphael, they kind of hinting around his anger issues beginning to develop, but it seems like he doesn't develop those issues until Leonardo is the leader for quite some time, and they kind of start to build that animosity towards one another. And then, like I said, Michelangelo, I guess he really hasn't developed that party dude personality yet. He's more of a, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, man. He's just cool. He's way more calm and collected than any other previous iteration of Michelangelo that I've ever seen. But to be completely honest, though, I didn't mind it. Definitely the nostalgic bone in me appreciated the breath of fresh air that these kind of new personalities that was brought to the Turtles. I mean, we always know Leonardo to be the serious leader. It's kind of cool to kind of be a little bit unsure of himself. And it was cool to see Raphael not be super serious and him and Leonardo being just down each other's throats for half the movie, like they are for all the other movies in the franchise. It was nice to see Michelangelo have kind of that fresh personality. And it was cool to see Donatello. He was probably the one that really didn't get changed all that much. He was still the tech nerd geek, but that's okay, man. Now, let's talk about the action. Action scenes in this movie were absolutely some of the best turtle fight scenes I've ever seen within the entire franchise, flat out. The art style here, it kind of reminds me of that Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse art style. It's about the same, to be completely honest. It was definitely made for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was right at home. I kind of missed the puppeteering from the early movies at the beginning, but once, I kind of got settled in, I was like, all right, I'm really feeling at home here. Having their battles against some of the gangs or whatever to trying to find the stuff that they were looking for. I'm trying to stay somewhat spoiler clean here, FYI, and don't mind that I'm kind of talking to y'all like y'all know at least the core foundation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I probably should have said that at the beginning of the video, but if you've been watching my videos long enough, y'all know me. Well, at least I said it at about halfway point. But definitely the action here is top notch, man. If you're coming to see Turtles fight, you're not going to be disappointed. This is some of the best action in a Turtles movie that I've seen in all of 2023. Absolutely. And like I said, some of the best action that I've seen from the entire Turtle franchise for sure. Now let's talk about April O'Neil, another big elephant in the room. They made her black and not really attractive, I guess, depending on the eye of the beholder. April's always kind of been that character. She's always been that kind of that carrot top or that blonde, blue-eyed, always has some cleavage showing. They kind of made her into a black hipster in this movie, which is fine. I rather enjoyed her personality. Leonardo kind of had a weird obsession with her, that weird, awkward teenage crush that definitely brought some hilarity, comedy into the script. So you got to appreciate that. But definitely just seeing that fresh take on April of her not really being a reporter yet, because you would think that April would have been a cool kid in school. But in this version of her, I guess she's kind of looked at as a nerd because she had like a little incident in school that, kind of gets her to being made fun of, and her and the Turtles kind of help each other out to kind of try to come out of the limelight to realize their true selves and kind of reach their potential. So it was really cool to see that teamwork, that camaraderie come together within the story so that we could see them become the best versions of themselves. Now let's talk about Splinter for a second. If you've seen any other version of Splinter in the previous versions of the Turtles, you've seen this Splinter. Jackie Chan really didn't bring anything spectacular to the role. He played it safe. You can hear his voice through the imagery of Splinter, that's definitely for sure. But he has some really good kung fu scenes. He saved the Turtles when they were babies. They got caught in the ooze. They all transformed. He did the best job that he could raising them. He got caught in a little dilemma that gave Splinter the opportunity to showcase his kung fu skills as well. It was super cool. Nothing special, nothing spectacular. A really grimy scene of him making out with a bug near the end of the movie. That was pretty funny. Other than that, just a pretty cool Jackie Chan version of Splinter. I enjoyed it. Now, if you've seen one of my movie reviews before, you know what I always say. The superhero type movies can only be as good as how good or interesting the villain is. And the Superfly, played by Ice Cube, does not disappoint whatsoever. He has absolutely shot up to becoming one of my favorite turtle villains of all time. I know he's like classic. He was never really all that prevalent in like the classic Turtles or whatever, but what they did with him in this movie here, oh yeah, he's right up there. Well, hold on, I wouldn't go that far. He's not up there with Shredder. No, nothing will ever take the place of the Shredder within the Turtles, comics or TV shows or video games. But man, he's like second fiddle or like a next arch nemesis for sure, man. He was so good. I wish we could see a little bit more of him, but I think it's pretty obvious, if this gets a sequel where the storyline is going. But man, I absolutely enjoyed his character 100%. Not to mention, it was just so fascinating seeing Ice Cube play a bad guy. I don't think I'd ever seen that before, but it's definitely welcome, and I hope we get to see way more of that in the future. Also, don't let me finish out this review without at least mentioning all of the ridiculous cameos, not even cameos, but just actually part of the core villain cast that they reached deep into the villain bag of, comic TMNT and animated TMNT villains that we've seen for over 20, 30 plus years, man. It was so cool to see like Leatherhead and the frog, the toad, I can't think of his name, but definitely, if you're a hardcore TMNT fan, your nostalgic juices are going to be overflowing with this movie for sure. This was a movie made by a fan for the fans for sure. Of course, you kind of want to see the Shredder and like Crank and, Bebop and Rocksteady, take orders from Shredder. But like I said, this was just a nice breath of fresh air to give us something a little bit different. It should be pretty apparent by this point that I love this movie. I really did. This is easily one of my favorite Turtles movies of all time. I still think probably 2 is the one that brought me into the fandom to start out. Then I went back and watched 1. That's still my core favorite. I think Turtles 2007 is still up there too. I think I would put it tied for 3rd place with Turtles 2007, man. I love this movie. I really did. Did it change some core concepts from the original story that we all know and love? Sure. But did it still keep the love of the 4 brothers with the companionship of April, the fathership of Splinter, loving on the Turtles and showing them a better way? Did it give us that teamwork that we've all come to know and love so passionately as Turtles fans? Yes, it provides all of those nitty-gritty feelings that we need as Turtle fans to be able to enjoy a movie in the year 2023. Absolutely 100%. I would implore you to go see this movie, not only if you're a Turtles fan, but if you're just a fan of just good cinema in general. Obviously, there is a mid-credit scenes that the internet is buzzing about right now. I won't spoil that here, but if you're any kind of an inkling of a Marvel fan or DC fan with all these mid-credit scenes, you know where this is going. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this movie is definitely going to get a sequel, and we know exactly where the storyline is going. So, if you enjoyed the video, my friends, if you would consider hitting that like button, I would really appreciate it. And also, if you can go ahead and share this video, I would appreciate that as well. You can also consider supporting me on Patreon. That is open. I will leave a link in the description below. Every little cent helps. These videos are not easy to make, and I would appreciate your support if you feel obliged to help. As always, my friends, you can follow me at youtube.com/SmartTech79. I am also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, my friends, I will see you guys on the next one. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.